humanity is not the only intelligence in the universe.
Humanity is not the only intelligent species.
We are absolutely not alone.
Non-human intelligence exists.
UAPs are real, they're here, and they're not human.
Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the goddamn internet. And today we're going to be talking about the new UFO documentary coming out, The Age of Disclosure. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but I'm so excited for it. They're busy premiering in places all around the country, in the US, I'm pretty sure. And we're going to be hearing about from the director. And yeah, it's going to be a really good one today. So make sure you watch till the end, because the best parts are there. Like, subscribe, notifications on, comment, share, because that helps the absolute most. And without further ado, get your snacks, get your popcorn. We're going to be checking this out, all the details, sneak peeks. So stay tuned.
Do you feel the world is ready?
The world is absolutely ready.
We're always ready for the truth.
I hope so.
I spent 25 years as a senior official with the CIA.
I worked on highly classified UAP programs.
28 years as an astrophysicist.
I served as the 4th Director of National Intelligence.
Director of Aviation Security in the National Security Council.
The one-star admiral after 32 years of service.
People that come forward with this, I feel like they've taken their life in their own hands.
What kind of impact do you hope this film will have on future discussions about government secrets and the unknown?
I think this is a big breakthrough, because individually lots of us behind the scenes have thought, well, there should be more transparency in this, but you know, an individual person coming out by themselves, it's really tough. So the brilliance of Dan Farah was he very carefully behind the scenes went around and lined up 34 people and said, look, if you all come out at once, then we can make a statement.
Once senior officials started leaning into that, it kind of spread like wildfire amongst those who are in the inner circle on this within our government, and they started to realize this is a unique opportunity to bring the truth out.
I think it gave them an opportunity to tell their side of the story, and they had absolutely nothing to gain but public humiliation. I mean, myself, I've lost contributors, and they use this against me in campaigns, but over half the country, the latest polls, it was in 55 or 56% believe that we're not alone.
We learned that the U.S. government was involved in a long-running secret war with other nations to collect and reverse engineer vehicles not made by humans.
So as far as unlocking technology of non-human origin, what's the first thing you'd want to see us achieve? Limitless energy, space travel?
Right. Well, there's so many things that we could tap into, right? And we always have to be careful, too, because the weaponization of those technologies, right? We can bring it to the world, and we can say have that endless energy, it can have all of those things. Clean energy, right? But who's going to take that, and what are they going to do with it?
Obviously good, right? I think that everybody wants to see whatever technology is out there available or whatever we can develop. We want to make sure that, one, it protects Americans, and two, is able to protect the U.S. and its interests overseas, including our allies.
So I can definitely agree with so many points made here by these people. And yeah, we should go after the pharmacies as well. We should become transparent. We should be for the people, as the Constitution was built upon. It's the foundation, right? Yeah, it's good to see, and I think it's a really good thing. It leans a lot more into Greer's also his beliefs that everything should be published and put out there, instead of a few people trying to monetize it and profit from it, and then it gets shelved, okay, and it never sees the side of day. So we want to get the free energy out there. We want to be better. We want to be better for our planet, guys. This free energy would be so life-changing. Like, it's a new industrial revolution, right?
What else might happen? The spin-offs, maybe biomedical advances that'll help prolong our life and well-being. You can name it. Agriculture and food security.
The world's our oyster at that point, right? So, I mean, I think ultimately it would be the most amazing thing for us to understand that the stars weren't as far away from us as we thought they were.
I have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings.
Okay, so I know it was just said he has seen non-human craft and non-human beings, which is really interesting and cool. But did you hear the guy previous to him that said, those stars you're seeing, they're not that far away? So let's just take a moment to appreciate that one. That's a new one, right?
It's rotating. There's a whole
The first country that cracks the code on this technology will be the leader for years to come.
China has established its own version of a UAP task force.
I don't know, isn't it like the first country to unlock this technology and its extent economically, right, will be centuries, if not more, ahead, right? I don't even know what the fuck that would look like. How does anybody know?
You think for a second that they wouldn't consider using it to achieve their ends of domination?
This is similar to the Manhattan Project. This is the atomic weapon on steroids.
If you were to ask one a question about Earth or our species, what would you want to know? Because there's never been
I would want to know what's your purpose for interacting and showing yourselves.
So there's been a lot of like spooky talk. Some people saying what's the scariest like possibility of this, what aliens' intentions are, what reality is, and they get like quote unquote dark. Then they start thinking like we're like a soul farm, something dark like that, like cattle or just animals. I don't even know, but it's a really fascinating thought to have.
How long have you been in Congress?
If you were to personally meet a non-human intelligent being, what's the first question you would ask them about Earth or our species?
Who says I haven't?
Oh God, you hear that? He said, "Who says I haven't?" Oh, I want to watch this movie. It's so fucking funny, right? This is gonna be sick. I'm really excited. Love that line. Hope the movie is up to its expectations, right? Because they're hyping the fuck out of this.
This is so secret. Very, very few people in our entire government have been allowed access to it.
Even presidents have been operating on a need-to-know basis, but that begins to ramp out of control.
It's not acceptable to have secret parts of government that no one ever sees.
You better be careful about a government that doesn't trust its people, because there's no telling what they'll pull on you.
What else you want to know?
So is this like a loophole where you can make a movie or documentary about something where you can say more and then it's not like breaking their NDA with the government? Or how are they able, like Louis acting as if he's gonna be saying more shit, what else do you want to know, and not be contradicting himself with saying he can't say shit, right? So I wonder what that means.
Hi, I'm Katie. We're here in the Deadline studio with Dan Farah for the documentary Age of Disclosure. Dan, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I wanted to just start kind of broadly by asking where your interest in this topic came from and when you decided that you wanted to, explore it in a documentary format.
Awesome. Yeah, my interest in the topic really comes from movies. My childhood was in the 80s and early 90s, and I grew up watching movies like Close Encounters and E.T. and Fire in the Sky over and over and over, especially Close Encounters. That's hands down my favorite film. And, those movies piqued my curiosity in this topic and these big questions of whether we're alone in the universe, whether the U.S. government's actually more aware of information about this than they've shared with the public. So I feel like the interest that was piqued by those movies kind of fueled this lifelong interest in the topic and consuming any kind of like article or documentary or book about it. And ultimately, I decided I wanted to make the documentary that I wish existed. A really credible, serious, non-sensational documentary that sets the bar at only interviewing people who have direct knowledge of this topic as a result of working for the U.S. government in some capacity. Mm-hmm. And that was my motivation, and I was really just setting off to make the film that I wish as a viewer that I wish existed to watch.
Yeah, it's kind of a tall order though, to get that level of authority in a documentary like this. And yeah. I'm curious what the process of that was like to get all of these people to open up on camera.
Yeah, it was challenging. Early in my process when I was doing research on the topic, I got introduced to several really high-level former intelligence officials who worked the topic for the U.S. government, and started forming relationships with them. Some of them were kind of like my go-to support for help, getting other doors opened, and helping socialize what I was trying to do. And one introduction led to another. Ultimately, I think a lot of the people I interviewed participated because I had put together a safe environment where they were surrounded by many other very credible, high-level, active officials or former officials, and there was strength in numbers. So I wasn't asking any one person to kind of go out on a limb and be out there on their own talking about this stuff. Other thing that is really important to touch on is a lot of the people I interviewed have knowledge that they can't legally talk about, right? And I never asked them to do that, and I would never ask them to do that. But there's this whole other category of knowledge they have on this topic that they can lawfully, legally disclose, and they just historically been discouraged from doing so. So what I was asking them to do was to comfortably disclose what they legally could in the context of this documentary, where they'd be arm in arm with other credible people. And so, a lot of people obviously ultimately wrapped their head around doing that and decided to do it. Some people ultimately decided that they were worried about the stigma around the topic, or they thought that they would be in danger by participating. So I ended up interviewing and including in the film, 34 high-level military, government, intelligence officials, but there were a number of people who ultimately chose not to participate as well.
As you were going through and doing these interviews and collecting all of this information, I'm sure there might be several answers to this question, but what struck you the most, or what piece of information kind of struck you by surprise a little bit?
I would say that the thing that surprises me the most is once I realized that once I learned from my interview subjects that there is a there, that this is a very real situation, a serious situation. And once I learned from the interview subjects how truly bipartisan it is also within our government, like senior officials from both political parties are taking this extremely seriously. It's to my knowledge, it's the only thing the leadership of both parties actually agree on, right? So what was surprising to me is that despite it being so serious and real, and despite it being so bipartisan, the average person has no idea about any of it. The public is very much in the dark on this, and that to me is the most surprising thing.
Yeah, to your point, there doesn't feel like there is much these days that is a bipartisan issue, and I'm curious, exploring that through that lens of the bipartisanship of it, and hearing from political leaders on both sides of the aisle how that informed your perspective on the topic, and just what you learned from seeing these two parties come together on something when they don't usually.
Well, it made me realize more than ever that it's a really serious situation, and that I felt a lot of weight on my shoulders to responsibly make the documentary in a way that relays how serious this is, right? And make sure I kept that tone and made sure that it didn't come across sensational at all, and treated it with the seriousness and respect that the situation deserves.
What questions do you still have, or wish to still explore about this topic?
Well, I think we'll have to see what happens next. There's a real focused effort within our government to bring out the truth on this. Leaders in both parties are actively trying to make disclosure happen to the extent that it legally can. Senator Rounds is still fighting for the UAP Disclosure Act that him and Senator Schumer proposed. Senator Schumer was the Senate Majority Leader when he first pushed the UAP Disclosure Act with Senator Rounds. They're trying to push it through again this year. The House just announced a new committee 2 weeks ago called the Committee to Declassify Federal Secrets, and the chairwoman is Representative Luna, who's also in the film, and she's very bullish on making disclosure happen. That's a bipartisan committee. The leadership from both parties are involved. So there are elected officials in government right now who are very actively trying to disclose more information about this topic to the public. And I think this film is going to play a big role in that. There's a lot of, I've heard from senior members of the current administration that they're very excited about the documentary. They're excited for it to get out there to the public. They think it'll be helpful in what they're trying to do to push for disclosure. And yeah, it's interesting. It's somewhere along the way of making this movie, my documentary about disclosure literally became disclosure.
Yeah. I just want to end by asking, why is this disclosure so important to you, and why do you think that it's something that the American public should know about?
I think that there's people it's not just the American public. I think people all over the world have been interested in this topic for a long time. And there's a lot of people like me who grew up super curious about, what the truth is on this stuff. And I think that, what the interview subjects in my documentary reveal is that there's a lot of information on this topic that affects us all. And so I feel like the public has a right to know basic information. Obviously, a lot of things still should be kept secret for good reason, for national security. But base facts, like we're not alone in the universe, it's one of the biggest questions in the history of humanity. If the answer is definitively yes, like we should all know that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for having me.